There is reportedly a lot of frustration within All Elite Wrestling right now regarding a variety of different factors. We'll let you know all the details on that. Plus, the prospects for All Elite Wrestling during the negotiations between Warner Bros. Discovery and the NBA have possibly been revealed. More details on the upcoming debut of Julia. Have plans been changed due to a recent injury that she suffered working for the Marigold promotion? We have a health update on AEW commentator Jim Ross. The Owen Hart tournament returns later on this year. Natalya, reportedly, she has been approached about a brand new WWE contract, and an update from Tony Khan as to why AEW All Out was moved to a different date this year. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about frustration possibly in All Elite Wrestling, because reportedly not everyone is happy right now in AEW. Now, All Elite Wrestling is on the verge of one of its biggest events of the year, 5 years after the company held its first pay-per-view. However, despite being home to many of the best wrestlers on the planet and some huge names, not everyone is reportedly excited. Writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer looked back at AEW's rise in the last 5 years, tackling some of the question marks around the company. Meltzer said a lot of money has been spent on some talent who have contributed very little, adding there's frustration behind the scenes. He said, quote, creative certainly has questions. A lot of money has been spent on some talent that has contributed very little. AEW went from a fun place to work with the great backstage camaraderie when WWE talent, for the most part, were walking on eggshells, to a place with a lot of frustration from wrestlers making a nice and even great living, but not getting anywhere near the ring time nor upward mobility they had hoped for. Now, speaking back in April, just after making a series of talent cuts, Tony Khan revealed he's looking to keep adding to the AEW roster. Khan said he was proud of the roster in place, but there are plans to continue expanding, commenting he's going to keep his foot on the gas pedal. Despite reservations about the size of the roster from fans and some in the media, Khan said he will keep going after top talent. So what do you make of the frustration in AEW right now when it comes to roster size and lack of opportunities? How do you think AEW combats this? Is this a talent problem? Do you think it's going to change when it comes to talents possibly choosing to join AEW in the future, or talents looking to get out of their contracts? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Now, another big story when it comes to AEW, of course, is their future with Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, while not certain yet, it's looking increasingly likely that Warner Bros. Discovery will lose the rights to air NBA games on TNT following the 2024-2025 season, in a move that will have far-reaching ramifications across the television landscape. One of the parties affected would be AEW, though it's not yet clear whether WBD losing a key piece of programming could end up working in the wrestling promotion's favor. Writing in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer offered his analysis of the situation. While negotiations are still ongoing for the next NBA rights term, with 3 different packages being bid on, Meltzer does not believe WBD CEO David Zaslav will spend the money necessary to retain its current NBA package. He said, quote, in theory, it's better for AEW that TNT loses the NBA, because while the revenue would decline, the NBA package is a net loss, meaning they'd in theory both have more money to spend and also have more need for programming, Meltzer wrote. However, the key part of the AEW package is Dynamite, and that's on TBS, which is largely not affected either way on this. Additionally, Meltzer sourced an individual with ties to both wrestling and TV networks who stated that WBD losing its NBA games would almost certainly mean the company gets paid less by cable and streaming companies who carry their networks. This means WBD's television budget could drop dramatically, causing the company to focus on landing properties that could draw bigger ratings, such as college football or the UFC. AEW is currently approaching the end of its media rights deal with WBD, as recently confirmed by CEO Tony Khan. The two companies are still in an exclusive negotiating phase, but Khan and AEW will soon have the ability to speak with other media companies and hear out offers to take the promotion's TV shows elsewhere. So what do you think is going to be the end game when it comes to AEW and their media rights? Do you think ultimately they're going to get a new deal and stay with WBD? Do you think there's a possibility that they could move elsewhere? Do you think there's a possibility that WBD could pass on AEW if they lose the NBA too? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, we've got a ton of information information about Julia because her WWE debut is kind of up in the air after suffering an injury this week. Now, WWE fans might have to wait a little longer than expected to see a new signing in action. Around WrestleMania 40 weekend, it was reported that Julia had signed with WWE. Now, at the time, it was claimed the star would continue to appear for the brand new promotion Marigold in Japan before heading to the Performance Center in the United States and debuting on NXT. Further reports suggest that Julia would make her in-ring debut at NXT Heatwave, with Roxanne Perez a potential opponent. However, those plans were thrown into doubt when Julia suffered a broken wrist during Marigold's first ever event on May 20th. Writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer offered an update reporting that both Marigold and those close to Julia don't think she'll be starting with WWE as soon as July 20th. Quote, there have been reports that Julia starts on July 20th in Toronto facing Roxanne Perez for the NXT title. We have been told that before she was hurt from those in Japan who know her that she was not starting in WWE that soon. Marigold is also of that belief. Time will tell. Those close to her also say she will not be starting that soon, and all the necessary paperwork for her, her mother, and her boyfriend who are moving with her to Florida has to be completed for her to be in NXT full time. However, since the show is in Canada, not in the United States, the visa restrictions aren't there, so from a legal standpoint, she could do the show. Now, when it comes to more details on this, a new report has also come out from Fightful Select. Now, they say that, as I said, the Wrestling Observer reported new details on Julia's impending WWE debut, and they've got some further context on some of these notes. Now, with regard to Julia's injury that she sustained at the Marigold Fields Forever event, WWE sources say the company are comfortable with Julia healing while remaining in Japan and are not expected to interfere with her desire to still appear on shows she was originally scheduled to wrestle on. NXT and Marigold sources both tell Fightful Select's Corey Brennan that the injury was initially worried to be worse than it turned out to be, with Julia heavily favouring it backstage after her match at Fields Forever. However, the timetable for Julia's return to the ring remains up in the air, depending on how the bone fracture in her right wrist heals. With regard to Julia moving to the United States, NXT sources tell Brennan that officials expect Julia to make her first appearance for the brand before she makes this permanent move to the US along with her family. While the Wrestling Observer reports that visa issues will not be a factor into a possible Heatwave appearance, Brennan is told by both sources in WWE and Japan that this would not cause issues with a possible appearance in the States, as Julia has previously had no issue securing work visas to work in the States previously. On NXT Heatwave, as has been previously reported by several outlets, while WWE has been hopeful to make the Julia versus Roxanne Perez match happen at the Toronto event, it's always been dependent on Julia's Marigold dates and now her injury status. By no means has the match been made official, nor has it been close to being locked in as of this recording. NXT sources Brennan spoke to insist, however, that regardless of if Julia will make her debut at NXT Heatwave, officials in NXT are dead set on making it an NXT Women's Championship clash with Roxanne Perez happen upon Julia's debut within the company. They've also been told, Fightful Select by NXT sources, that Perez's current storyline with NXT General Manager Ava will play a key role in how Julia makes her NXT television debut, and that Roxanne has been working stiffer at live events in preparation for the matchup. Now, those that Fightful spoke to in Marigold believe that at minimum, Julia will look to make good on the dates that she will miss due to her injury and will look to be back in the ring for the promotion as soon as she's cleared from her wrist fracture. Both WWE and Marigold sources confirmed to Fightful that Julia will not be exclusive to NXT and WWE for quite a while, if at all, and that working with Marigold was a sticking point in her negotiations to sign with the promotion back in April. Those in NXT that Fightful spoke to continue to push that Julia will be presented as the female face of the brand upon her arrival, with one source expecting her to surpass what Asuka achieved in NXT during her run, which is a pretty significant statement considering Asuka has never lost in NXT as well. Now, let's talk a little bit about Jim Ross. We've got an update on the health of the WWE Hall of Famer and AEW commentator, and it is positive news. Now, on May 23rd, Jim Ross announced on social media that he had been taken to the emergency room after struggling with shortness of breath. In recent years, the legendary announcer has been dealing with several health issues, including skin cancer, while undergoing multiple surgeries. Now, Ross most recently went under the knife in early 2024 for treatment on his hip, although he still made it to Revolution to call Sting's final match, despite being in a great deal of pain. In a new post on social media, Ross shared a photo from hospital with his 2 daughters that you can see on the screen right there. Reporting in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer noted that while Ross will be unable to appear at AEW Double or Nothing as planned, he expects to be fine in a few days. He said, quote, Jim Ross, 72, was hospitalized on May 23rd at his other home in Norman, Oklahoma due to shortness of breath. He said he won't be able to go to Las Vegas this weekend for Double or Nothing, which was his next announcing gig, as right now he's only doing pay-per-view shows. He said that he has a Class A flu and raised heart enzymes to go along with breathing issues, but was getting excellent care and expects to be fine in a few days. Of course, Ross signed a new 1-year deal with AEW in March of 2024, which will see him call pay-per-views without being involved in Dynamite, Collision or Rampage. Upon signing the deal, Ross said he expects it to be his last as an announcer. Now, speaking of AEW, we've got some other news when it comes to the Owen Hart Foundation tournament returning later on this year. In September 2021, AEW announced the launch of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, also known as the Owen Hart Cup. The tournament features men's and women's brackets, and the first winners were crowned at Double or Nothing in 2022. On that occasion, it was Adam Cole and Britt Baker who won their respective tournaments, while Willow Nightingale and Ricky Starks took the honours in 2023. According to a new report from the Calgary Herald, the finals of the 2024 tournament will take place in Calgary on July 10th. As usual, Martha Hart will be on hand to celebrate with the winners. In discussing the tournament with the Herald, Hart says she trusts AEW to properly honour her late husband's legacy. She said, quote, to highlight, promote and honour Owen's wrestling legacy, she says, we are now working together to ensure that legacy continues. Now, while discussing Owen Hart and his impact on the wrestling business, Chris Jericho said AEW has worked with Martha to show his legacy in a positive light, saying, quote, we've worked with Martha to have him shown in a positive, respectful light as an influential talent. It's great for Owen's legacy and for the foundation, and that's what Martha always cared about. Through the foundation, she was able to take this horrible tragedy and turned it into a huge positive. We wanted to build on that. Now, let's talk about WWE and talk about Natalya. Speaking of the Hart family, there's been a bit of speculation about her future in WWE as her contract is coming up. And Natalya has reportedly been approached by WWE regarding an extension to her deal that was due to expire imminently. The 17-year veteran of WWE was noted to have not discussed a new deal with the company back in April. But according to Fightful Select, Natalya has been approached by WWE regarding a possible extension. It was noted that terms have not been disclosed and nothing has been signed at the time of recording. On Natalya's side, the report claims she is keeping all options open and she's been actively working on projects outside of WWE, including a possible Hart family movie. Natalya's impending contract expiration has not been addressed until recently, and she is not the only WWE superstar whose contract is coming up. The likes of Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have all been subject to speculation as their deals came down to the wire, with little talks of extensions. Something believed to have come down to former Executive Vice President of Talent Dan Ventrell. Now, obviously, several of those names did eventually put pen to paper, and this could likely be the case here for Natalya. Natalya spent time between Raw and NXT brands this year. She unsuccessfully challenged for the NXT Women's Championship in April, later losing an acclaimed NXT Underground match against Lola Vice. Natalya was also eliminated by Io Sky in the first round of the Queen of the Ring tournament, due to culminate this weekend in Saudi Arabia. She's been signed to WWE since 2007, winning the Divas, SmackDown Women's and Women's Tag Team Championships as one of the company's most tenured stars. And finally, circling back to AEW, got more details on the decision to move AEW All Out this year. The tradition of AEW hosting All Out during Labor Day weekend will end this year, as the company recently announced that the event date had moved from Sunday, September 1st to Saturday, September 7. On the AEW Double or Nothing media call, AEW President Tony Khan addressed the reasoning for this decision. He said, quote, it was a really great 2-week period last year, back-to-back weekends with All In and All Out. There was a lot of feedback. Hey, what about more time between the shows? They're both holiday weekends, and I think there's utility to both weekends. We had a run on Labor Day for several consecutive years, even going back before AEW All In. I want to continue putting AEW on in September, and I wanted to give the fans in Chicago a great show. And I was thinking, how can I give them an even better show? And I know some of the feedback had said, this has always been a great weekend, Labor Day weekend for AEW, coming off the stadium show. It's hard to come in and do anything the week after that. But last year we did it, the show was fantastic, and a lot of people thought All Out was the best event of the entire year. As Khan pointed out, last year's AEW All Out pay-per-view broadcasted just 1 week after the company had presented the All In pay-per-view from Wembley Stadium in London, England. Despite All Out being an overall well-received show though, Khan noted that some fans and pundits had voiced an idea of pushing back the All Out event to allow for more time to build the storylines and matches on that respective card. As such, Khan adjusted the day and time of this year's All Out event accordingly, while also being cognizant of the NFL's opening weekend. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.